been played with the AP junglers for FPX with this new jungler. Hecarim was that main backup. That was the one they always used to fall back before we even moved to 11.5, and now that Hecarim has been more dominant on 11.4 and 11.5, we see that that's what they opt for once more.
And with the Tristana ban, I think going back towards the Kaisa is just the best play for FPX. If they don't do it, I will be a bit surprised. They do lock it in. And now for TT in terms of answers, I'm questioning what they can go for in terms of AD carry. Maybe we see somebody pick up the Xayah, which I think would be the expected pickup. And then, heck, maybe you just put Teeen back on the Alistar with how good of a performance he had.
Right. Could be a different pick in the bot lane as opposed to what we might expect. I'm still kind of keeping an eye on Jinx, seeing as that, ooh, but it is actually Kalista.
So, SamD has not played this split. But on V5 last summer, if anyone remembers the start of the split, it was all about SamD and PP God picking up the Kalista and then typically PP God on his Thresh. So SamD going back to what was comfortable for him in previous splits. This is a very lane-dominant bot lane. We haven't really seen Kalista work out too well this season, but I love FPX answering with the Sett. The cool thing is, we don't know where this is going. Chris could be playing this in the support role. It has been one of Chris' champions to play twice, but Doinb has also played this mid this split.
It is true. That is something that they can opt to flex around a little bit. As we're seeing the second part of bans, Aurelia being banned by the side of FPX makes me think that they're going to be the ones to get that Gnar. You kind of are saying maybe TT, the Jace ban is highlighting that that's what they want to go for, but they never grabbed it.
The thing is, right, all the Jace ban does is signal that there's some kind of expectation or influence on Gnar in draft. Because it could work two ways. It could be TT have been signaling they want to pick it themselves, which obviously wasn't true, but it also could be a bait. It could be saying, hey, we're going to ban out the Jace pick. Maybe you then pick the Gnar. They've banned those two other champions that we talked about in the Game 1 draft. And maybe TT has another surprise answer pick if FPX do go that route.
FPX are cycling through that Sion is an option. They've only played it once. The Gnar is more likely. The Gnar is what we'd expect since it's left open. I do wonder if TT just go straight back to that Wukong.
I was going to say, there's no way you ban Irelia, Camille, and Jace and don't pick the Gnar. That would absolutely blow my mind. They can go back towards the Wukong. We already highlighted the game plan, which I don't think would be that good against FPX's composition. Very tanky, very mobile as well. So, to my knowledge, Wukong probably the best pick they can go for. Their comp is going to be way more early game oriented this time around, though, with the Kalista in the bot lane, because now you have Kalista, early game aggression. Wukong as well isn't this champion that scales amazingly into the late game. TTR once again want to keep their foot on the gas pedal. That's a good question. What do you run mid into the Sett? You highlighted the Renekton earlier, but actually FPX have it banned out. I actually would like the Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia does phenomenally into tanks and bruisers, especially into FPX's composition, which wants to run at you. Instead, this pick is a bit less of a lane bully than the Cassiopeia would be, but still facilitates a similar role of hey, we have Emperor's Divide, you look for the all-in, we try to keep you at bay. I think there's more ways to play around it, though, with the ultimate coming out from Hecarim, Kaisa and Gnar both having ways to, traverse terrain and get past him, but at the same time, I think decently solid pick. But what can Twila do up against Doinb? Oh, though, this could be flexed. It is.
It is.
So we're seeing Doinb pull out the Kassadin. This is a champion he's played before. It's a champion that does do decently up against the Azir. The first few levels can be tough, but against Twila, I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. And then we know at level 6, that's where this Kassadin starts coming online and starts really being able to abuse his mobility advantage over the Azir. So we know if this game goes late, it is completely FPX dominated. For TT, it's all about accelerating the early game. We have not seen Kalista really do well in terms of, laning presence in the LPL. It has simply not gotten the advantages it's needed, but TT needs to find it this game.
A bit of an issue, unfortunately. Champions like Remake due to a bug with trading champions. This is something that has happened with Tournament Realm a couple times. So we're going to hopefully be able to get that fixed pretty quickly. Just running through champions really fast. That's why you saw at the very end where Azir and Alistar weren't able to trade right away and why they weren't swapping spots, just because they got to fix that.
I remember times back when I was coaching where there would be scrims where either us or the enemy team, you remake a draft 3 or 4 times because some kind of error happens where you're not able to switch champions. You waste you know, like 30 minutes doing that, it could be a bit of a pain. It could be a bit of a pain.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've been casting a lot for North American amateur stuff this entire week, as well as doing LPL stuff, and I'm on Tournament Realm to be able to spectate a lot of this, right? And I think it was yesterday we had that issue where I didn't know of that issue being that widespread, where some of the players are like, oh yeah, this happens a lot. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, just...
It's a combination of a Tournament Realm problem, and also then, at least in scrims, more of a team...
I was gonna say, I've seen that it's a user
problem.
issue.
Yeah.
A user error sometimes. I think that was the one that's more likely.
I'd say most of the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the more common one that I've seen.
Doinb, though, still looking happy, like you highlighted.
Always
a lot more focused. Not saying he wasn't focused last game, but last game we're seeing him laughing, smiling. Now he looks very like, hey guys, we need to win this game, you know? We saw Chris talking about how he felt like their early game aggression and their mid-game macro has improved, and we did not get to see that at all in game 1.
No, and this composition, even though it does have those late game scaling options, you highlighted a point that I kind of want to bring up with Kassadin while we had this chance. Kassadin, before, you know, he's always been long-standed as the late-game king. You get him to level 16, he's going to have that super fast Rift Walk constantly. But from what I've seen more of Season 11, is once he gets to that 2-item spike, that's usually where you see this Kassadin start to be able to get that lead, to be able to snowball. So as we jump onto the Rift for Game 2, I want to see if they're going to be able to utilize Doinb on FPX to be able to get an early lead and try to compete with TT for that early domination.
You know, the TT Gyos, not as loud as FPX's, but still, like, decently, you know, like, surprisingly loud. Like, you're still able to hear them, the fans are out, and that's nice to see from a team that obviously just rebranded, does have some more, like, long-termish players in Twila and Xiaopeng on the Rift, but, you know, again, I'm glad that LPL fans are out and supporting in full force.
That's one of the things I love the best, is that you get these fans for the teams that are able to show their support like that. Want more regions to embrace that here in the future, like as things slowly work their way to being opened up. We gotta make sure we're still staying safe.
And we do see here going into game that, oh, I like this from TT. The lane swap comes out because this is a matchup where, you know, Wukong will do well. Sure, his passive is about giving him armor, not MR, but same with Kassadin's Q shield, right? It's a magic damage shield. You get melee range. You're a bruiser, so you do have higher base stats. He also has the Conqueror, so he does well in extended skirmishes. And Azir, sure, you're not going to lane bully out the Gnar, but at the same time, you should be safe. You have mobility. You're able to get out of there. It's a nice switch. Of course, we do see Kassadin running the fleet footwork. He expected to be up against the Azir. It's Teen.
Nice
goes in again.
Knockback by Teen. Saying, nope, none of that. Go away. We are not playing any games in this early game.
Still, though, FPX were the ones who came out on the winning side of the trade. And this is what we highlighted about the Kalistas. We haven't really been able to see this dominate lane the way you expect, but guess what? Xiaopeng's on his way here.
Prancing down towards the bot lane, and with no vision and with how far they're pushed up. Level 2 for Teen. Oh, a bit too early. Has to flash forward to be able to knock back Chris. Has the shield just in case, but the Ignite is ticking, getting a big punch of damage on Xiaopeng. Flashed forward from LWX to be able to get first blood. Chris trying to be able to escape away from Sam D, but he's got nowhere to go. It's going to be a trade of 1-for-1, but it's going to be both ADCs on each side getting the kill.
That's the thing, right? TT were the team that invested resources into the bottom lane, and they lost out, so that is a win for FPX. Especially, I'm happy that Sam D was able to secure that kill in the end, because Chris with a really nice sidestep of that Q. But look where Beichuan is. He's on the top side of the map, though Twila, respecting it, has a ward down, so it's just going to end up being Scuttle Crabs in the meantime. But when we highlighted, hey, FPX have the scaling comp, they are in a fine position.
The smite went over to Beichuan. Now in a 2v1 fight, getting a lot of damage back and forth, but it is going to be the kill over to Wukong. Unfortunately,
Oh, God.
Doinb a little bit too late to be able to have that fight.
I mean, the biggest thing, right, is I was just going to highlight, Doinb's done a good job staying even in CS. Chelizi just picked up double buffs from the kill he got on Hecarim. We are going to go into the replay, though. And we see Teen's going to come out with a flash and just knock Chris back. The Swirl Seed doesn't hit anyone, and Chris doing a great job, lays down the Ignite and the Haymaker. LWX follows up as well. This is where I got scared for SamD. Not in range, throws the Q, Chris sidesteps, but luckily SamD is able to hop and you know, hit those autos, secure the kill. So at least it's a 1-for-1. TT ahead in kills right now. They do have some decent matchups for them in soul lanes. I like how they avoided the tough matchups with their swap. But FPX are still in a fine position.
And you talked about the fact that Chelizi was able to get double buffs mid lane on Wukong. Well, bot lane, they got a red buff on LWX, so with this play attempted, they could get a lot of damage onto the back line. They knock back in Teen, no flash, good punch to be able to execute him for LWX.
And this is what has been FPX's successful formula this split, is kind of what it's been historically, is when their bot lane has gotten ahead is typically when FPX wins most of their games. When Crisp can support diff the enemy support, when, you know, Beichuan, Bo, Teeen have been playing around the spot side, when Doinb can get unlocked. That's how FPX gets a lot of their leads. It feels like when you have these more volatile players, right? You think of players like Xiaopeng, iBoy, LWX. If you can get them the advantage to where you know they're going to take a lot of these hyper-aggressive plays anyway, if they're ahead, those plays typically work out.
This is what's happened so far. Getting good chunk of change into LWX. Not having the red buff anymore, but who cares? 2 kills, you'll take that. Gonna have that pressure into the bot lane. You highlighted the fact that it's not an easy matchup, though. Teen, oh. Well, a bit too thick to be able to get that Hex flash through.
I was just gonna say as well, the nice thing about, you know, playing mid lane matchups, especially melee versus melee, where you are still countered by the Wukong, is the lane's not long enough for Chelizi to really be able to freeze him out or like punish him heavily. So, for what TT need to do is punish Doinb before 6 and look for the mid lane dive. Right as I was thinking that, we see Teen on the screen looking for it. Sadly, as you said, did fail the Hex Flash. Doinb is about to hit level 6, has done a great job of absorbing EXP and again, catching these minion waves. He's not too far behind. He should be about to hit level 6. And then we can start seeing him more interacting with the map. The problem is, since Chelizi is mid, he should be able to follow you or start up those roams as he's doing now, and he provides more utility and more damage at this point in the game.
I like that they're trying to go for this dive. I was about to highlight the fact that SamD and Teen not having that same dominating performance like they did last time. And here they have the matchup of Kalista to try to win the early game. So if you're not getting this Kalista ahead early, you're eventually going to get outscaled by LWX.
The thing is, they are obviously doing quite well in terms of CS. Not as well as you think, though, because LWX is catching a pretty big wave now. But FPX is doing a good job of playing around their bot lane matchup, punishing the mistakes coming out from the side of TT. And TT's game has been very similar to game 1 in the sense that a lot of their advantages are completely centered on Xiaopeng. Xiaopeng's been, you know, doing great in terms of pathing. Now picking up this Scuttle Crab is, we're going to see a fight and a replay.
6 for Beichuan. Unfortunately, Xiaopeng easily caught out. Teen having to flash away to try to escape this, but they can chase you down until the ends of the earth, especially with Doinb having that Rift Walk to be able to take down a double kill.
Nice response coming out from FPX. Not going to be able to punish Chelizi in response, but still, they're the ones picking up kills. This looks much more like what you would expect from FPX against TT, where they are starting to push at Nuguri.
Wow, that's a solo kill under turn. Jesus.
You know, that's what we were hoping to see last game, but TT switch it up, put Twila topside. Nuguri comes out with it, but Chelizi is here.
Trying to see if he can get the retribution kill with that Cyclone. Has the follow-up with the decoy, so there it is. At least it will, after a long time, be a 1-for-1 trade.
You know, I think for Nuguri, he's still feeling fine. He got a solo kill. He also got his wave into turret. I think he should make it back up in time when this wave crashes with where the incoming waves are, so he's not really going to lose out on anything. And now it's just about, you know, where we're going to see the next source of action. We still have first dragon up. It has not been taken. TT are the team that have bot lane prio. They at very least have the Kalista as well, so much better at playing for dragon and those neutral objectives to secure that. I would like to see TT opt into that at some point. And for the side of FPX, when you're having Nuguri who's pushing in top lane and doing fine in that matchup, and you're the team that outscales, it feels like it'd be better to get that gold injection from the Rift Herald.
And honestly, I think for the side of TT, what they're doing right now is trying to get that same kind of risky play to be able to get themselves ahead, but unfortunately, I'm just wondering when do we see Xiaopeng and team have that same team-up capability like they did before?
And this also goes back to the point I was making after game 1 that, like, draft adaptations are going to come out. There's no way it can work the same way, right? I think the bot lane matchup was much worse last game, in my opinion, because support matchup feels way more intensive and instrumental, as nothing's going to be able to come from this, I think.
No, I think that the Emperor's Divide being down was what they wanted to be able to punish. They said, hey, look, it's gone, and they brought in Doinb, but it was a bit too late. The Shifting Chance was able to get away, so instead they turn on to the objective, might be able to get themselves a bit of vision and then the Rift Herald.
I think they were hoping that Twila would overstep and like look to punish out, at least get a flash out of it. The Emperor's Divide isn't all too impactful because any skirmish on the top side, FPX should win anyway. Now Nuguri has no ultimate, so it looks like they're going to opt out of this Rift Herald to where I think if it was just Nuguri top side, they could have taken this. But yep, here's TT's bot lane coming. Instead, they're opting for the early gold trade. So again, they're not all inning on the fact of, hey, we have Kalista, we have an earlier scaling comp, we need to rush for a soul. They're going to try and break open the map with Heralds, but I think this is just a worse trade for TT. I think FPX are totally fine losing the Rift Herald so long as TT are giving up golden XP on the map, which they are. And look, LWX is scaling and getting to a power point even faster now.
2 kills, 3 plates bot lane. Might pop the Rift Herald top lane for TT to be able to get some sort of a trade against FPX, but like you said, it seems a little bit more like TT are the ones trying to react to FPX as opposed to before where they were the ones constantly making the plays.
Well, you know, seeing with the 2 kills, I actually think TT are doing this to get out of the 2v2 lane. Because look, it's 2 longswords and a Doran's Blade up against Noon Quiver, Serrated Dirk, and a Doran's Blade itself. So TT definitely actually trying to dodge the matchup. Oh god, Teen almost finding it. Forces the flash. Though. Yeah, really clean from
LWX has been on point with those flashes away from Teen.
Another charge secured for TT though, so this isn't too bad. Gold is pretty even, but still I would say FPX are in the favorable position. Even more so now with this.
Xiaopeng trying to get away. Unfortunately, you're a bit squishy here. They might even want to just gift that kill over to Doinb. You have a blue buff on top of you, Chris. You don't take it. There you go.
3-0 cast in 11 minutes. This is what we talked about in Champ Select. This is what happens here. Somehow we get all these early skirmishes in these roams where Kassadin just accelerate faster than they should. It's really interesting, and it's why I think especially in a lane, which should have been against Azir, but I guess was against Wukong, we typically just see Kassadin's hit level 6 and then start working as like a roaming mid laner, interacting with the team and trying to pick up the spoils of victory that other members are able to guarantee, like LWX, Crisp, and Beichuan in a lot of those bot side skirmishes.
It feels like what they wanted to do last time with the TF pick, except this time they don't have to worry about being not massively, but down 5 kills early on into the game and having to feel like they're always reacting to what TT do. The FPX are finally in a position to be the ones to make these calls where it's them on the first step, and it's usually Doinb or Beichuan. Those are the ones finding these picks, and you can even see Beichuan continuing to make sure that they have that ability to do so.
I feel like the most important thing in this game, too, is the fact that FPX not only outscale and should be able to win 5v5s, they also still have the same side lane prio and ability to play side lanes that they did with their last comp. Because Doinb will be able to handle Twila, Nuguri will be able to handle both Azir and Wukong. Like, they're going to be fine going into side lanes up against either of TT's champions. So FPX's comp has a lot of dynamic ways to play the game, get prio, find advantages, force fights, and take objectives.
And honestly, it's so interesting when you look at their composition. Even though Nuguri does look like he might be caught, has the ulting Lullaby, is about to go Mega, has a TP in behind, but unfortunately he's bursting down before it's completed. So now that you have Doinb here, it's a bit of a bad spot. You gotta be careful. Chelizi's taking a lot of damage. Good double knock comes in from the side of Teeen to try to keep him alive, but they're gonna be able to get charged into the backline and take down Chelizi, trying to see if they can keep the fight going a little bit longer, but unfortunately for TT, it's been disengaged already.
Ultimately, it is still a 1-for-1, a soul laner for a soul laner, so it's not feeling too bad for FPX that they were able to respond. Also, 1 TP by each side was expended, so it's pretty much a completely even trade, though I guess Nuguri also did lose Flash, so maybe slightly in favor of TT, but FPX are trading kills. FPX are still up in gold. Dragon comes up in 2 minutes, though, so we're going to have to start looking for TT to, you know, getting more aggressive vision around the bots of the map and probably having to find some picks.
Well, and Lyric, I was going to talk about this before, but now I guess now is the time to talk about it, is that Doinb has gone for the typical mid lane AP build path, which is Everfrost. Sure, it's a little bit more utilitarian, but with 4 kills in your pocket as well, you're Kassadin, you're already going to have a lot of good damage as the game continues. This seems great for the side of FPX that I don't know if TT have a way to slow them down.
I don't think they do, and this has been the go-to build we've seen on Kassadin in professional games as well as in solo queue. You go with the Everfrost, Zhonya's comes out. We typically then also see Archangel's Staff and Lichbane, so it's actually not, you know, it's pretty similar to what a lot of Kassadin builds in the past have been. Nuguri, hits the ultimate.
Nice! 1v2, I think he's gonna take this one, even with lifting Lullaby.
Oh, God.
He's not afraid, saying, hey, I dare you to keep fighting me, especially when you had a flank potential from Beichuan and Crisp. It was a good call from TT to be able to disengage, but unfortunately, they've now realized they have no way to actually fight against FPX and are trying to see if they can just struggle to hold on to their own jungle, even with the fight onto Beichuan. He's gonna use the shadows to try to see if he can fight back a bit more. Still alive!
Ooh.
Finally taken down by the Emperor's Divide, but it might be a trade. Xiaopeng barely alive. Good flank comes in from Sam D to make sure that they're going to keep the fight going and catch out Nuguri, giving a triple kill over to over to Sam D.
That was so strange. We see FPX look for the fight. They are the team that invades. They start running away. Beichuan turns around, thinking they can get it. Then Chelizi goes for the engage. It is a 5v4 because Doinb is bot lane and doesn't have TP. And look, Doinb is 4-0-0. He's one of the big members for the side of FPX. And this is just like game one. FPX are much too willing to fight in circumstances where they don't need to.
And they get punished. I was saying, what can TT do to be able to come back into the game? Well, punishing a couple of oversteps from FPX is a great way to be able to get back into this game, especially when you're able to have now 4 kills onto Sam D. And let's take a look at this fight in the flanks.
Yeah, so we see FPX invade the jungle. Chelizi engages and Beichuan re-engages. Numerous members locked down and amazing Emperor's Divide coming out. Chelizi barely able to escape by the skin of his teeth. And look at all the damage Twila and Sam D are putting out, while the frontline and Teeen does a great job of peeling, and Xiaopeng just kind of dances around the fight.
Oh, Nuguri, even though he goes mega and was able to maybe get a trade. Yes, he will be able to get a trade with the help of that turret 1-for-1. He's now no longer in that position to be able to have that 2v1 power.
I do want to say, I still feel like FPX are the team in a better position in terms of scaling, in terms of how the game will play out with side lane pressure, with team fights. It is a nice point of power that TT are abusing their power spike and abusing numbers advantage, but you know, they're far away from getting soul. The soul actually isn't that impactful regardless. Their comp would need some kind of Elder Dragon, I think, to really be able to guarantee team fights once we get that late into the game. And for FPX, even if they do have a few more missteps and get picked off, as long as the game stays relatively even for the next, 10 or so minutes, I think they're fine.
Well, let's take a look at this play in the bot lane. It just seems that Nuguri just keeps thinking that he has that power. After that lost team fight, though, he no longer has it.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's just like last game where Nuguri's looking for these all-in windows in the 1v1 where he's confident he's stronger. Turns out Xiaopeng's there, you get punished. A slight oversight coming out from Nuguri, and good by TT to punish a basic mistake.
And FPX are the first ones onto this Rift Trail, but it seems that TT are trying to defend this. Everfrost was not able to connect onto anybody. They're trying to dive into the backline. Doinb doing a little bit of damage, only tickling Teeen, even with the showstopper to try to see if they can draw him back in. Look at how low Chris was taking that entire fight. They were able to draw back one, but Twila's the first to die in the fight with Beichuan continuing into the backline, trying to be able to chase down Beichuan, but could not do it. He finally died, but it's a double kill for LWX. Make it more as they finally find the kill onto Sam D. Only Xiaopeng able to survive, trying to scamper away from the fight. They know where he's at, and it's only a matter of time before they hunt down the deer.
That's the thing, is Xiaopeng, he has the recall. He has the empowered recall. Does he get it? He got it.
He does.
But
barely.
The thing is, we saw the power there when FPX actually have all 5 members at the fight. I love how they They were kind of posturing, that they weren't exactly connecting. Suddenly, Chris sees the angle for a showstopper onto Teeen into the rest of the team. Beichuan follows up, Doinb follows up. LWX, after getting some peel from Nuguri, they all find a way onto the backline carries from TT. And this just goes to the point we were saying a second ago. We're like, hey, if too many things don't go wrong, FPX are in a good position, and this showed it. So we're seeing the posturing. They're taking it slow. Great showstopper coming in, timed with Beichuan's entrance as well. LWX left untouched. He's able to hit anyone. Chelizi gets onto the backline, but look at Beichuan continue to go. Doinb following up. This is the thing about FPX's comp, is everyone has the ability to jump forward and keep the fight going. And they did a great job of punishing TT.
Here they are with a pretty sizable gold lead now. This is their chance to be able to get this game continuing to snowball into their way, where they're going to be able to control around these objectives. You can see, you know, still about 30 seconds up until that Baron, but they're already having a huge line of wards on that top half of the map to be able to secure.
And the thing is, we're getting super close to Doinb even being able to pick up his Archangel staff, and then he's going to be at such a point of power. 3 items. The only item he'll be waiting on is his Lich Bane, and I feel like that one's even much more for the pressure he could put up in side lane. He'll still already be a massive threat in team fights. 5-0 and 3. This is one of the things we love about Doinb, is the amount of personality he brings in a league with all the champions he's willing to play.
Crisp, though, nearly caught out. They've got a lot of damage. TP in behind. LWX, though, is going to be able to assassinate Lillia. And Sam D on the other side at least gets a 1-for-1 trade, but Doinb not going to let him escape from the fight, even though LWX, oh, the Baron helps out TT, trying to turn it around, but they can't do it. Doinb goes golden. They take down the final kill and get an ace.
That's the thing. Things can look okay for TT. They have a lot of upfront bursts. They do have a lot of team fight potential, but the second Doinb gets involved, it doesn't matter. Nice rift walks coming in from him, getting onto essential carries on the side of TT. The gold lead continues to snowball. Dragon is about to come up. I guess Xiaopeng will be back on the map first and other TT members, so this potentially could be TT going for this, but with the amount of waves they have to answer coming into their base, I think it should give enough time for FPX to respond.
So it starts off with what looks like a pick onto Chris, but with so little control of vision for TT, this just feels too risky.
That's the thing, is they're fighting blind. They do have a bit of vision in this rush, but it doesn't matter. Suddenly, all of FPX flies in, and Sam D gets out of there, so Sam D's able to continue putting pressure on the opposite side. But guess what? Doinb's here. He takes you out. LWX was on top of all the bruisers of TT since he did ult in. But at the end of the day, Kassadin is still alive. Nuguri was full HP, and they get it. And yep, they are the ones who are able to secure the Dragon. TT did have to catch those waves coming into mid and top, and they just trade Dragon for topside vision control. But now for FPX, they just have to go back mid, lean top, and start contesting.
It's pretty much what TT had to do, is try to get some kind of vision control to be able to fight back, but unfortunately, doesn't seem like it's going so well, especially with 5 members FPX in your jungle. They've got the Fear and LWX falling up onto Xiaopeng to be able to pick up a double kill underneath the turret. PP a little bit too late to be able to help out. Twila realizing that, just getting a little bit of poke damage, but FPX know what they want to be able to get. They're here for the objective.
I love the decisiveness coming from FPX this game. It punished them in game 1, but great killer instinct from LWX following up on Beichuan and Crisp's engage. This will be a Baron for them, and with their composition, they can play around 3 lanes of pressure. They can do a 1-3-1. They can lean into one side. There we go. Sorry, I'm forgetting my words today, Magical, but lean into one side of the map and just put a ton of pressure down onto TT.
And with this, TT trying desperately to be able to get something for themselves. Their mid lane pushing out a bit, but now they're falling further and further behind in gold. It's only 22.5 minutes into the game, and like last game, there's been a lot of kills, there's been a lot of early action, and it feels a lot later than it actually is.
I mean, we're 32 kills for 22 minutes, so
right.
we're at a pretty good pace. Oh, Nuguri.
Oh, take a boulder. That is a hard thing to deal with, is when a house is tossed at your face and you're forced to use your soldiers just to be able to escape it.
And now we're seeing what we talked about, right? The 1-3-1 is coming out. LWX pushing in mid. Nuguri has pressure on sides. FPX have decided that the lane they're leaning around is top side. They're getting a bunch of deep vision there. Looks like, though, they want both quadrants of the jungle. We see Beichuan heading down bot. They're going to try to completely choke out TT. TT have to put down defensive wards, and now TT have a choice because they can't defend everywhere against FPX's comp. They need to give up pressure in one lane, all in somewhere, try to create an opening, recall fast enough to then be able to stop FPX's advance.
Honestly, this seems like it's their last desperation play in mid lane. That damage onto Samdi's pulled back in. LWX is able to go golden to be able to stay alive, but they have the backline that you got the killer instinct to stay alive, and now the damage rains on. Wait, Xiaopeng, where'd that damage come from to be able to get an instant triple kill? Try to see if he can dance around to be able to take down Doinb, but Doinb jumps right back on top of him to take him out for the final ace. This should be FPX now using this Baron to end the game.
It doesn't matter what kind of damage Xiaopeng can find, because guess what? We're level 15 Kassadin, which might not sound scary, but he is 10, 0, and 8. This guy is massive. Nuguri also doing well in these team fights. This at the very least is going to be mid lane inhibitor turret. I don't think they will be able to pressure inhibitor. Actually, maybe won't even be able to secure this because death timers are coming up from TT.
That is fair. It feels a lot later into the game than it actually is. It's so much earlier because there's been so much fighting in here where they're able to respawn and a bit early on the ending the game call, but at the same time, that fight seemed like the closest TT had. They seemed like they had caught FPX out, yet it still didn't work out for them.
No, and we're going to see here, TT know they need to all in. They need to go for an engage. They need to create some kind of action on the map and Hail Mary this play. LWX caught out immediately. Really nice play coming out from Twila, but Crisp finds his way onto Samdi. But there we go. The flash Q coming in from Xiaopeng. Layers the ult in as well. But again, Nuguri just instantly taking down one member. Doinb comes out of the Zanyas, and they're able to secure the last kill.
We keep getting, after each fight, it keeps getting worse and worse for TT. Now 8,000 gold, but they find themselves behind FPX. They can try to see if they can go for yet another Hail Mary play, but how many of them before it all ends and the game is actually over?
Yeah, they need FPX to make a big overstep. Right now, Doinb doesn't have TP, so maybe if they realize that, but actually Doinb's not even showing on the map. He's not even putting pressure down. No. And look how far back the members of FPX are playing. They're actually going for recall, so I like it. FPX aren't even giving windows for TT to abuse them.
And just like that, he has that TP back. He's safe, getting more gold for the team. They can see if they want to reset the lanes, be able to draw back in. Doinb say that we're going to have you a part of these fights. Nuguri's scaring out 4 members by himself of TT.
Yeah, they don't have any information on where FPX is. They do have some light wards around the river entrance to mid, so I'm sure they know that FPX aren't in the area, but still, with the massive lead FPX has, TT has to back off and respect.
It's level 16 time for Kassadin. It's not good.
No, FPX should just be focusing on this Drake, I assume. Yeah, TT are pulling off recalls, so they know they have to give this one up. I think FPX can look to continue playing 1-3-1, pulling members of TT apart and trying to force them into a skirmish, but I also wouldn't be surprised if FPX just waited for Baron, but hey, Beichuan is speeding up.
Trying to see what they're going to be able to find. He hasn't popped that ghost just yet. Still waiting to see if they're going to go for that play. Try to see if they can pick apart TT in a straight 5v5 fight, but opt not to. Realizing that they don't have to pressure anything. They have this massive lead for themselves. It's about a minute until the Baron is going to spawn, and like I mentioned, yeah, Doinb at 16 on this Kassadin. He's gotten to that point of no return where all he has to do is ever have mana to be able to spam that R and have lots of damage.
And now is a bit of a lull, because despite the fact that I do think FPX can go back to that 1-3-1 and try to pull members of TT apart and try to find some kind of skirmish, I don't feel like they can reliably hit turrets as Xiaopeng lands asleep, but I think Doinb's fine.
Again, the level 16 Kassadin, what is that, a 1 second cooldown on his ult?
Yep,
how long it takes Lilting Lullaby, he's just able to jump away twice, and they get a lot of damage back on a Xiaopeng. This is not looking good for TT.
Yeah, but we see FPX are just waiting out Baron because, again, they aren't able to reliably hit turret unless TT makes a big mistake. Like, Twila should be able to wave clear. Doinb really can't do anything against anyone who answers, unless it's SamD, but they're not going to send SamD to solo answer Doinb. They're going to wait for the Baron, they're going to get the Baroned up minions, and then that's when the 1-3-1's going to come back at full strength, and I think they should be able to knock down all 3 inhibitors.
And Lyric, I want to ask you, would you consider this the late game? Would you consider this the point of no return for TT's composition, where you talked about how they don't have their scaling options, they don't have as many opportunities when it comes to these late game fights?
Yes, I think Doinb is just too big at this point in time. He's so strong.
He jumped forward and immediately went golden. And look at this. They have TT's backline completely split. They got a double kill in for Doinb. They can rip apart everyone else. Even if Teen's tank is not enough, they got a triple kill for Doinb with a double kill for LWX. A clean ace. That is the game.
Yep, and they're just going to funnel through the top side, push that in, look for the win. And FPX being much more, I'd say, like playing towards their win conditions, much better early game, especially this time around. And now we're at 1-1. TT looking like a bit of a flash in a pan once again.
Yeah, again, the lightning flashed and the thunder crashed. It's a bit sad to see, but game 2, it's great to see if you're an FPX fan with how they're able to perform in this one. They did not bleed out an early lead. They did not give up any of that pressure when it came to the mid game, and they were able to execute on what they needed to as a team.
I love seeing team captain Doinb. Stands up, looks right at Beichuan, gives him a pat on the back, says, "Good job, buddy." Great to see, and you know, the thing is, I think there can be some question marks for FPX about game 1. At the same time, TT pulled out an unconventional comp, and the thing is, when you play 16 best of 3s during a regular split, you're already confirmed for playoffs. You know, I feel like you don't need to play the perfect game every time, so maybe we can give FPX the benefit of the doubt with losing game 1. We still got to go into game 3. This has been very close by TT, very winnable. There was like 46 or something kills in this game for a 30-minute game, so it's at least been fun to watch.
That is true. It has been a lot of fun to watch, and seeing a Kassadin game too is always a great thing. I like weird picks. I like things that are not necessarily bad, but just not in the meta, that aren't picked too often. And when you see someone like Doinb who is able to pilot it so well, especially in those late game team fights, what did he end the game? Like 13-0-9, I think he was?
Yeah, he was massive. And, you know, like kind of talking about this game holistically, I like their draft adaptations. I definitely think they came in with the superior draft, but I like how TT reacted in-game, right? They lane swapped the Azir and the Wukong. I'm not sure how confident Chelizi is with Wukong versus Kassadin matchup. It's obviously not a matchup I think anyone should know well because, you know, when are you going to play Kassadin against Wukong? He didn't really get a big CS advantage or find any solo kill opportunities, but he always had lane prio. In the top side as well, Twila was consistently pushing in the lane until we got to that first item mark. So there were like lane prios to play around. There were some smart adaptations, but we saw what FPX did this time was react to playing around bot side. They didn't let Teen and SamD get the same advantage and have the same impact, and it felt like that's what really massively snowballed the game differently, on top of FPX just actually having a comp that can wait it out, chill, and be able to play 5v5s this time around.
And where you see the damage charts in front of you now, Doinb, of course, is doing the most damage. But I gotta applaud LWX for that bot lane. And you talked about you draft this Kalista and Alistar lane to try to be able to win, to try to be able to get this early snowball, and that didn't happen. LWX being able to get those 2 early kills really did make it so FPX could fall and rely on their bot lane to be able to succeed.
That's the thing, right, is we saw TT bring a jungle down first, and they end up trading a 1-for-1, and then FPX started giving jungle attention towards the bot side and getting LWX ahead, and we were starting to talk about this in game, that it feels like, you know, support matchup is just widely known is way more impactful towards the bot lane. That's why when we saw last game, I was like, okay, I think TT are doing a good job taking advantage of support matchup, and also FPX were just playing it incorrectly. This time around, it's like, sure, you have the Kalista, you're getting a bit of CS advantage, but I remember me and Munchables were having this conversation that it feels like, and I guess this comes from Clement, it feels like, you know, getting a 20 CS advantage in a lot of these games, it doesn't really mean anything when we're still going to go into these team fights. It's still going to be about playing around neutrals. We're still going to get later in the game, and it's about who has the better champions and who has the more impactful champions, which Kalista has not been at all this split.
No, I feel like Kalista is one of those picks you can pick into very, very select matchups, very select styles on the opposing side if you want to be able to have the full success with her. Otherwise, it's just the middling performance that we saw there from Sam D. It wasn't necessarily bad. I mean, think about some of those mid-game team fights where he was able to have perfect position along the edge of the fight, but unfortunately, on the other side, there is a Kassadin, the best thing to stop someone who wants to stay on the side of the fight, because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, Doinb did not give them any room to play. Again, he picked up so many of these kills in these early skirmishes that were happening around the bottom side of the map. And then we saw the one team fight where FPX took it 4v5 and lost, but after that, anytime Doinb was in a team fight, remember that amazing flash Q Xiaopeng found. It doesn't matter because there's a fed Kassadin coming for you.
Kassadin late game. I mean, I talked about how mid game he'd be fine, but yep, like you said, he's fed. It's late game. What you gonna do? Unfortunately, TT learned that lesson, and looking into the next game, into the third and final game for the day, for TT to be able to get that miracle run, riding on those hopes from game one. Before we toss it to break, Lyric, is there a possibility besides draft that they might be able to come back?
I definitely think so. From what we saw from game one, I don't know what'll happen. FPX should win, but realistically, after game one, who knows?
Fair point. Fair point. We'll find out after the break then, so stick around. It'll be game 3, TT FPX.